Let me tell you about Sarah. 6 months ago, she was desperately trying to understand why David, a guy who seemed completely into her, suddenly went cold. They had 3 amazing dates. He texted her every morning. He made plans weeks in advance. Then, like a light switch, he disappeared. Sarah did what most people do. She doubled down. More texts, more availability, more effort. And with every message she sent, David pulled further away. What Sarah did not understand is that she had accidentally activated the most powerful psychological repellent in human attraction. She had become predictable. This is where slot machines become the perfect metaphor for understanding human attraction. Imagine you are sitting at a slot machine and every single time you pull the lever, you win $5. Sounds great, right? Wrong. Within 20 minutes, you would be bored out of your mind and you would walk away. Now imagine a different machine. Sometimes you win nothing. Sometimes you win $5. Sometimes you win 50. Occasionally, you hit a $100 jackpot. Which machine would keep you playing for hours? The unpredictable one. Not because it pays more, it probably pays less, but because your brain cannot predict the outcome. That uncertainty creates a dopamine cascade that is absolutely addictive. Psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered this phenomenon in the 1950s while studying pigeons. He created boxes where pigeons could peck a button to receive food. When the pigeons received food every single time they pecked at a steady, moderate rate. But when Skinner changed the reward to be random and unpredictable, something shocking happened. The pigeons became obsessed. They pecked frantically, far more than the group receiving consistent rewards. Even when the food stopped coming entirely, the pigeons who had experienced intermittent reinforcement kept pecking far longer than the others. They had become psychologically addicted to the unpredictability. Now, here is the dark truth about modern dating. When you are always available, always responsive, always consistent in your attention, you are training someone's brain to take you for granted. You become the slot machine that pays out every single time. Neurologically unremarkable. This is not about playing games or being manipulative. This is about understanding that the human brain is wired to pursue what it cannot fully predict or control. The moment someone can fully predict your behavior, the dopamine shuts off. The chase ends, the attraction dies. Let me break down the exact neuroscience of what happens when someone experiences intermittent reinforcement in a romantic context. When David texted Sarah and she did not respond immediately, his brain entered a state of anticipation. His ventral tegmental area, the part of the brain responsible for dopamine production, started firing. Will she respond? Does she still like me? Is she with someone else? That uncertainty creates a neurological itch that the brain desperately wants to scratch. When Sarah finally did respond 3 hours later with a warm, engaging message, David's brain released a massive dopamine hit. That combination of uncertainty followed by reward created a neural pathway that is incredibly powerful. This is why the early stages of dating feel so intoxicating. Everything is uncertain. Will they text back? Do they feel the same way? Will there be a second date? Your brain is swimming in dopamine because it cannot predict the outcome. But here is what most people do not realize. You can recreate that uncertainty even after someone has lost interest. You can reactivate those dormant neural pathways. But you have to do it correctly, or you will make things exponentially worse. Let me give you a concrete example of how this works in practice. When Sarah finally understood intermittent reinforcement, she completely changed her approach with David. She stopped responding to his occasional texts immediately. Sometimes she would reply in 20 minutes, sometimes 3 hours. Once she did not respond until the next day. But when she did respond, her messages were warm, engaging, and showed genuine interest. She was not being cold, she was being unpredictable. David's brain could not establish a pattern. The dopamine started flowing again. But here is the critical nuance that separates this from manipulation. The quality of your interactions must be high when they do occur. If you are unpredictable but boring, you are just annoying. The intermittent reinforcement model works because the reward, when it comes, is genuinely rewarding. Sarah made sure that when she did engage with David, she was fully present, interesting, and brought value to his life. She shared unique perspectives. She made him laugh. She created memorable moments. The unpredictability made him think about her constantly, but the quality of the interactions made those thoughts positive. Now let us talk about the extinction phase, because this is where most people completely destroy their chances of re-attracting someone. In behavioral psychology, extinction occurs when a previously reinforced behavior stops being rewarded. If you have been constantly available and suddenly go completely silent, the other person's brain initially increases its attempts to get the reward. They might text more, reach out more. This is called an extinction burst. But if you remain completely unavailable, their brain eventually learns that the behavior no longer produces a reward, and they move on permanently. This is why going completely no contact without a strategic plan often backfires. The strategic approach is different. You create space, but not complete absence. You become less available, but not invisible. Think of it like this. If someone has been getting a reward every single time they reach out to you and suddenly they get nothing, their brain categorizes you as no longer worth pursuing. But if they reach out and sometimes get a positive response and sometimes do not, their brain cannot categorize you. You remain in the uncertainty zone, which is exactly where attraction lives. You are training their brain that you are worth pursuing, but you cannot be taken for granted. Here is another layer that most people miss. Intermittent reinforcement works exponentially better when combined with the principle of scarcity. Robert Cialdini's research on influence shows that humans place higher value on things that are rare or becoming less available. When you were always available to someone, your availability had no scarcity value. But when your time and attention become genuinely limited because you are living an interesting life, pursuing your own goals, and not waiting around for anyone, that scarcity becomes real. And real scarcity is far more powerful than manufactured scarcity. This brings us to the concept of variable investment. Most people invest at the same level throughout a relationship. They are consistently at 80% effort, 80% availability, 80% interest. The problem is that consistency creates predictability. Instead, successful people in dating understand variable investment. Sometimes they are deeply engaged, planning thoughtful dates, having long conversations. Other times, they are clearly focused on their own life, busy with their own goals, less available. This variation creates a pattern that the other person's brain cannot quite solve. Now, here is the practical framework for re-attracting someone who lost interest using intermittent reinforcement. Step 1. Create space. You cannot reactivate attraction if you are still in constant contact. The brain needs the absence to recognize the value. Step 2. When you do re-engage, bring your absolute best self. Be genuinely interesting, not just interested. Share stories, insights, experiences that make you memorable. Step 3. Vary your response patterns in ways that feel natural, not calculated. Sometimes you are available, sometimes you are genuinely busy. Step 4. never explain your unavailability. The moment you justify your absence, you reveal that it is strategic and the psychological power evaporates. There is a fascinating study from the University of Virginia that supports this approach. Researchers found that women were most attracted to men when they were uncertain about whether those men liked them. Not when they knew the men definitely did not like them. And interestingly, not even when they knew the men definitely did like them. The sweet spot of attraction was uncertainty. The women thought about the uncertain men significantly more than either of the other groups. Their brains were actively trying to solve the puzzle of whether they were liked, which created obsessive thinking patterns. This is why the advice to just be yourself and show them how much you care often backfires in the early stages of attraction. When you make your interests completely obvious and your availability completely predictable, you remove all uncertainty. And without uncertainty, there is no dopamine release. Without dopamine, there is no obsessive thinking. Without obsessive thinking, there is no falling in love. The brain literally needs some level of uncertainty to create the neurological conditions we associate with romantic attraction.